Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 130. We don't need no stinking Authtokens. Recorded on Friday, January 22nd, 2021. From Zenata Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Yes, sir. We've got a lot of news this week, but before we get to that, let's talk about some announcements, some events. So our upcoming webinars in February, this is kind of fun. We're doing one with Zoho. Zoho reached out to us and said, we'd love to do a webinar with you guys. So we're going to do one where we're connecting your CRM and finance workflows and automation. So it should be good. Looking forward to that. February 2nd. I don't think that title's correct, is it? Connecting your CRM and finance workflows.
Maybe it's missing a dash somewhere in there.
With automations, isn't it? With automations? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Got to work on that title. It's not too catchy, man. Anyway, that's going to be February 2nd at 10 a.m. And then we'll have our second webinar of the year, which is going to be Zoho CRM 2021. We're going to go over all the features and overviews. Our first two webinars of the year, we'll do one on Zoho 1, which we did last week. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then our second one kind of covers basically CRM. They have such major changes to both those products. It's kind of good to do a webinar on each one of those every year. And then for all the other events, really suggest you head over to crmzen.com. Go ahead and click on that events tab. And everything here. Workflow Academy is going to be doing a nice one on Command Center in setting up your organization's Command Center in Zoho Analytics, which should be really good. Those guys are great over there. And they're doing that with Zoho as well. So all of a sudden, I'm noticing things are loosening up a bit, and we're starting to see a lot of events start to come around. Well, we really weren't having that much for the first few weeks here of the year. All right, let's jump into the news here, brother. Zoho Sheets. We had a couple big trend additions to them this year. You now get text rotation, indentation, and you can drop images into some individual cells. But this rotation and indentation is a big thing that's kind of been missing for a while.
And so it seems kind of like this is, them providing a couple extra options for kind of the visuals inside of Zoho Sheets. We saw a lot of updates last year to all the different bits of functionality with the pick lists and some of the color coding. But kind of now they're giving us some options around really formatting a readable document inside of Sheets with things like this. I do really like the indentation, right? If you are going to make kind of like an outline or something like that inside of Sheets, you can kind of space things out so it's easy to follow along.
Yeah, I love that. The text rotation, that's pretty much been in most spreadsheet software. It's funny, I guess I've never tried to do it in Sheets before because there's never really been a feature I've gone for in Sheets that's been missing. But if I was trying to do this, I would have, this would be a big deal. So kind of some nice updates. And then you actually now can embed images directly into cells. So they're not overlaid on top, just kind of floating around on the sheet. They're actually embedded inside of a cell, which is pretty slick.
And it looks like you're actually pulling the image URL and then just setting a parameter for like the size and aspect ratio for it. So that's pretty slick. They show an example here of maybe organizing something by countries, and you're pulling in the flags dynamically to show those just in line in your spreadsheet.
Yeah, so it looks like you can pull them from you can insert them from your computer. You can do them from, other cloud drives and URLs. So nice when Zoho kind of does those kind of things. I like it, and it's good to see the Sheets team is keeping moving along. All right, and speaking of a lot of Office stuff here, this is interesting. You can now have templates in WorkDrive. So rather than having to go actually into Writer or into Sheet, you actually can fire off a template directly from inside WorkDrive.
I think this makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like when I'm using the Google suite of Office apps, I really think about them all as just part of Google Drive.
Yep.
Right. And so this is kind of joining in your Writer or Sheet templates just directly in as accessible elements in WorkDrive. That's super nice. I mean, WorkDrive just time over time is just getting update after update to stay ahead of the race for doc management.
They're making it easy to save as templates now and organize your templates. And then, I love it. Yeah, it's some good stuff. And also, this is really, really cool. So Zoho Writer has now added an entire sectioning ability. And we were kind of geeking out on this a little bit before the show, but man, I mean, this ability, cover pages have always been just one of the things that are slightly difficult where you're doing full images and break things into section. But if you're watching us on YouTube, basically you've got they're turning it almost into a publishing tool with the ability to lay this out.
Yeah, a couple things that are nice here. So they've got cover pages where you might want some different aspect ratios or border options, right? You're able to set up specific column settings on a section, right? So that you don't have to make your entire writer doc into columns. You can just say this part is 2 columns and the rest of it is 1. They're redoing their text boxes, which is a good thing. This is one issue I always bumped into setting up proposal docs. It just felt like they were a little bit clunky. So they've kind of redone that in general. And last but not least, they're allowing anchoring of images, which I know that our designer Tavin would be happy about. He always talks about pixel perfect, and they actually use that in this little write-up. Just that ability to really anchor an image to the exact correct part on the page rather than just trying to drag it and line it up like I would do.
Well, and the ability to anchor it hard. I mean, basically, the problem they've had in the past is you get the image in the perfect position and then you move any little bit of other text around or anything around and everything goes, haywire. Yep. So this is going to be nice. What'll be interesting about this is to see they've been really, really good. When you do an export of a writer document and someone wants to look at it in Word, it's virtually perfect. I'll be curious to see if that's going to still hold up with a lot of these changes because Word does support all of these things. I hope it does. That would be very nice. Although we're living inside of Writer all the time now, but great stuff from the Writer team. Pretty happy about that. All right. And then the next news is kind of a bunch of strangeness around data center migration. So, Zoho Docs is now could now be migrated to another data center. This does not come up very often. I just wanted to point it out. If you are doing a migration, there are now 5 data centers there are 5 data center regions that are available, and your docs can be migrated from one data center to another. Strangely enough, though, comments, tags, tasks, check-in, check-out, status, activities, those kind of things are not coming over. But I don't know who would do this, but I guess I thought I'd point it out.
It's interesting. Do you know if they have that for WorkDrive? Because Zoho Docs is kind of going to the breeze here before too long, as everything's supposed to be moving over to WorkDrive.
It's, and I'm just really, really, really surprised Docs still exists. I mean, because this migration, this has been going on a very, very, very long time. And I don't know, I think it's just all of the legacy. I mean, Zoho Docs really is tied for most people to the legacy CRM, people that had the old editions of CRM. This is where it did their docs. But yeah, eventually you got to figure it's got to go away at some point in time. I don't know. I don't
Until
know.
then, I guess you can move your docs.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big problems that they need to address with this is that when you do, if you're in the CRM and you say, look, we are migrating to WorkDrive, which I think we did a year and a half ago and it's never been fixed. Once you might make that migration, Zoho Docs is gone. You can't access it anymore. You can't do anything with it anymore. But it also breaks a lot of the various integrations where you can kind of click to open stuff. And there's just a whole lot of stuff that breaks when you do that as well. So that's something I guess we should have put on our wish list for 2021. Let's just make that migration. Now let's deprecate. Forget about deprecating Motivator. Take your time and deprecate Docs, right? That's what needs to die. And then this is really, really cool. Backstage now supports Zoom webinars for doing your events.
So yes, this is a pretty slick one. We actually use Zoom Webinar ourselves, both for doing this show and any of our monthly webinars. So it's just another option, right? When you're inside of Backstage, of course, we do love Showtime, and that's already been integrated for a while now. But if you do need high quality recordings, this might be the way to do it if you are going to have a digital event via Backstage.
Yeah, but I gotta wonder, are they allowing you still to use Showtime with the Zoom webinar, with Zoom being the front end to it? Because Showtime is really what they've been using for their virtual webinars, right?
Yeah.
inside of Backstage, they put in Showtime. I'd really
It
like
probably
to play with
replaces
this.
it. Probably just
Okay, yeah.
replaces any of the Showtime functionality.
You're just shooting the entire thing directly out of here. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. All right. Well, we'll see where that goes. Just, I think Zoom, it's something that they really needed to do because I think most people are actually using that for their webinars these days. So
Again, as much as we'd love to use Showtime, I think it's much better, but just a couple of those recording issues.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Alrighty, and then kind of a little bit of mobile news here, but in Zoho Sprints, you can now edit, delete, and reject log hours on the Android app.
It's just kind of a minor update, right? Just bringing things into parity with any functionality that is in the desktop. I mean, I'd imagine if you're kind of at a administrative view where you're going to actually be deleting or rejecting any log hours, I would think most people do that on the PC, but I'm always surprised with all the different things people are doing on mobile. So definitely nice to have.
Yeah, and then too many articles to mention, but it's the death of Authtokens. This week, I think every single product group sent out an announcement saying, "Guys, we're serious. It's over. It's happening. Authtokens are done. We don't need no stinking Authtokens. We're out of here." And so they're just everywhere. So if you go to the Zoho community, look at announcements. They're finally done. And it looks like March 1st is the date. Yes, it's all over.
Yep. And this is one that has been coming for a long time, right? Any of these different applications have made separate announcements all throughout 2020. OAuth has really become the best practice where you're actually making these API calls, basically through an authenticated user rather than using, an arbitrary token. So it's been a long time in the works, and I think it's finally coming due. They've pushed a lot of these back too. I know that they had planned on kind of end of lifing these earlier, but change is hard, and updating everyone's integrations takes time. But I think this one is it. I don't think they're going to push it back really much further at this point for these applications.
Yeah, I think they did draw a bunch of lines in the sand this year around things that they were finally going to do, and they finally pulled the trigger on it. So if you haven't made this switch by now, though, I mean, it's not just that they announced it there. I mean, it was banners on the top of every application, right? I mean, it's just email and announcements. So can't blame Zoho when this stops working, but I know there are a bunch of people that will still be caught unawares.
Yep. And for anyone who is just listening, can't see the slide, just to clarify, this is primarily talking, at least for these updates, about the finance suite with books, subscriptions, and inventory, as well as Zoho Recruit. But if you do have any integrations running to any Zoho app with Authtokens, it's probably not far behind. So definitely worth just doing a full review of any active integrations in your system.
Yeah. All right. And that brings us to our implementation of the week. What do we got?
Yeah, so keeping in the theme here of our news, mostly talking about the Office applications, this was an integration that we did between Zoho Forms, CRM, and WorkDrive. So in essence, we had a client who is capturing certain tax-related documents for all these different customers. So, basically, if the customer wants to enter a certain tax status, they get sent a form, they fill out some information and attach, maybe a tax exemption doc or, something related to that form. And on submission of that form, that attachment flows into the CRM and gets stored underneath the account. Right. So this is just directly under that standard attachments related list. And so that was working great for the client for a while. But they came back with a requirement basically saying, this is awesome, but oftentimes I want to say, show me all of those documents for California. Right. Maybe they need to do an internal audit and make sure that everyone who's tax exempt actually has those forms. But if you're doing that with the CRM, you're basically needing to pull open each account, go to the attachments, open that file, right? And basically line by line go through it. So we put together a little integration where, once that document is submitted, we actually pull that document right out of the CRM account. And based on the state on file for that account, we go and drop that file into a WorkDrive folder for that state. So that once it's time to do the California audit, you just pull up that WorkDrive folder and everyone's documents related to tax are in there. One of the cool things about it is that we're actually able to rename the file in that process. So, whatever name someone gives that file when they submit it to you. It might be tax exemption, might just be tax, who knows what that PDF is going to be called when you get it. We're actually able to name it the account name, apply the current date, and save a renamed version into WorkDrive. So it's pretty slick. I mean, more and more, we're just finding that, you make a couple quick little API calls and you can do some really cool stuff in WorkDrive that just ties into all of your different workflows in the CRM.
Nice. Yeah, we have got to finalize our migration, finally get over, because there's so much of this around all of our stuff that's going on right now too. And WorkDrive is one of the few documents you can actually launch directly from the CRM. Everything else kind of opens up a preview. And if you really want to do anything with it, you have to download it. And, this is very, very slick. Cool stuff, man.
Yeah, I think next thing we're going to want to do with this is one thing I've bumped into is lots of clients have a ton of attachments in their CRM just logged as attachments.
Yeah.
And it gets expensive over time if you're actually having to upgrade your storage in the CRM for those attachments. So don't be surprised if at some time during 2021 our implementation is some type of schedule, right? That can basically move things to WorkDrive, per account or per contact. Make a folder, assign that folder to the contact, and then move all their docs there. Kind of starting to scope it out. So again, just be on the lookout for that because I think it's a nice one to have.
So right now it is doable?
Conceptually, right? I mean, because you'd basically run a schedule, right? And you'd have a little checkbox and maybe you run it on 1,000 contacts a day, or because it's going to be pretty intensive in terms of API calls. But, you could basically say, run through a list of 1,000 contacts. For each of them, make a folder in WorkDrive. And then once the folder is made, move all their docs, just like we're doing here, into that folder.
And then do it for accounts and do it for deals as well.
Yeah, it's something that would probably take a while, though, because, you do have your custom function API credit limits per day. And if you have a lot of users, those are pretty high. But a lot of users means lots of accounts generally. So it's one that might take, 3 months running every day, and then everything's completed.
That'd be pretty slick. I think we'd do the hierarchical structure on that, though, would have to be account. And then under the account, you'd probably want to have you want to have the deals folder and the contacts folders for each one of those that would be listed out. Not bad. I like it. All right. And that brings us to this week's reads. This one was kind of fun. So way, way, way back, many millennia ago, I used to be the EVP of a BBS company called Mustang Software. And one of our main competitors was a BBS product called Galacticom. And the president of that was Scott Brinker. He's an old friend of mine. And I was skimming through looking for our read of the week, and Customer Think had this really had an article written by Scott. So it's called Any CMO Who Wants to Understand How to Really Harness martech Should Read This Book and the book is called Ask Your Developer How to Harness the Power of Software Developers and Win in the 21st Century. Really interesting article, and I already bought the book, but it's it's really, he just makes some really, really interesting observations, and Scott's always been about the marketing stack, the marketing technology stack, where everything plays, where it goes. And, more than anything, the software person, if you can get into the mind of the software person, you might need to really figure out where you need to go. Anyway, longer read, really good read. If you're watching us on the video, you'll see there's lots of graphs and charts. Anyway, well worth taking a look at, I think. Do you get a chance to read it?
Yeah, I mean, it brings up some interesting points just around how so much of process for a lot of these are defined by software now. And we find ourselves in that position a lot where, we kind of toe the line between sales process consulting and then, sales software development. Right. And oftentimes they go hand in hand. So understanding what's possible and what's there that you can leverage within a software platform can help you kind of get ahead of the competition when it comes to sales and marketing.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's funny as I go through and I'm always looking for this read of the week, sometimes I think some stuff is only going to apply to like a small little bit of our audience, but this is one of those reads that I think pretty much anybody who's has anything to do with marketing should probably take a look at this. So, hey, thank you, Scott. Customer Think. It looks like for a pretty good recommendation and read of the week. All right, and now we got over on Zanata. Tyler, we're really turning out the blog. So we've got 5 tips to building a perfect opportunity pipeline. Again, our articles are just getting so much better as we go down the line here. And then we have Zoho projects or Zoho sprints. Which one is right for you? And we kind of talk about that question, chicken or egg. And it's a nice article that really explains the difference between the two. And we should probably do one now on Campaigns and Marketing Hub.
CRM and Biggin.
CRM and Biggin, right? All of the various Zoho products that go head to head. So a couple good articles there. Head over to zanata.com and you can find them there. And then we had some fun. Was that this week? Did we do the webinar?
It was last week. Time flies.
Are you sure, bro?
I could be wrong. Maybe time moves slower than I thought.
No, we did it this week. We did it on Tuesday. Or I think we did. We did it this Tuesday. Yeah.
Jeez.
That just seems like a couple weeks ago. Anyway, we did our first webinar, Zoho 1 2021 product overview. I have just gotten some incredible feedback about it. So I want to thank everybody who's given us the feedback, but we did it again. I think we brought this one in and gosh, what was it? It looks
probably
like
exactly 1 hour.
an hour and 3 minutes.
Over.
I don't really know how we do it because we really went through every single product in the Zoho One suite and went through them all and kind of went through anyway. Got some good feedback. So if you kind of want to know what's going on with Zoho One, what's currently in the suite, where it all fits, and over and above that, what we think of the product, I think that's one of the things that I think sets us apart on some of these things is we kind of give you our honest view as whether or not you should use it or not and where it fits in, at least in our minds, currently in the Zoho ecosystem. And then I don't know how Wayne did it, but he found yet another guide. We were at 2 a week. He's down to 1 now. He's slacking off, but it's getting harder and harder. But this one is on running social campaigns inside of campaigns and how to run them. And it's a nifty little 16-page guide that steps you through it bit by bit. So a nice little PDF. Take a look at that. All right. And that is going to take us to our application of the week. Well, Tyler, I like to track my sleep. So I'm going a little off here with this one, but it is this is a product called Sleepwatch by Bodymatter. And this is only if you're in the Apple ecosystem, but if you have an iPhone and you've got an Apple Watch, then I kind of love this thing. I've used a couple of these in the past. This one seems to do absolutely the very best job. If you can literally give it 0 feedback and it just works. As soon as you lay down, it seems to be, man, it's good within 5-10 minutes. It knows that you've gone to sleep. And then it picks when you wake up, tells you what your deep sleep was, where you are, if you're getting enough sleep. And then it will ask you some questions that you may or may not wish to answer, such as, did you wake up rested? Then in the middle of the day, it'll say, how do you feel now? Are you tired? Are you awake? So basically trying to give you an idea, then give you a report saying, like, you need to get more sleep. You need to go to sleep earlier. You probably shouldn't drink 3 cups of coffee just before you go to bed, all that kind of common sense stuff. But it's a pretty slick app, man. Do you ever use anything like this?
No, I never had. I should, though. It's sleep's always been a battle for me, especially when I was younger. When I was younger, I definitely could have used something like this. I would always struggle in a better rhythm nowadays. But I'm one holdout. I don't have an Apple Watch. I'm one of the few nerds, I think, in this world who doesn't have a smartwatch yet. So one of these days I'll get one and maybe I'll try something like this out.
Well, I have tried so many. I used to do the Withings one and, every smartwatch I could get. And I got the Apple Watch. I think I waited several generations. I don't think I caved into the Apple Watch until about version, number 3. And then it got me. Ever since then, it's just like, and all the improvements they make, if you're into that kind of stuff, it's kind of nice. So, All right. Well, that's our app of the week. Something different for you guys. And let's now to our tip of the week. And we did our usual. I think this is the third in our series, Tyler.
Yep, this would be number 3.
Yep. So this is the Zoho Desk Beginner's Guide, how to get tickets into your Zoho Desk implementation. And we kind of stepped through that entire process. What were the 3 ways we covered to get in, or 4? What did we do?
Yes, we went through email, chat, and web forms, the direct ticket web forms.
And we'll kind of step you through each bit of that. So again, it looks like this is a quick little 10-minute video and everything you need to know getting going with Zoho Desk. And that is our tip of the week. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching our show. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to us over at zenata.com or crmzen.com and just click on the drop us a line form.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.